The sky was dark, heavy clouds looming over the village of Abodo. A chilling wind swept through the air, causing the leaves of the palm trees to rustle like whispers in the night. Deep in the forest, a scream echoed, sharp, loud, and terrifying. It was Princess Adaora. Adaora was not like any other girl in the village. She was stunning, with skin that gleamed like polished gold and eyes that sparkled with pride. Her backward-weaved hair, adorned with colorful beads, made her stand out, and her Igbo red fabric, embroidered with a fierce lion's head, spoke of her royal blood. But there was something about her. Something unsettling. She was arrogant, dismissive, and believed no one in the village was her equal. "Who dares to speak to me like that?" Adaora spat, standing in the middle of the village square, her voice laced with contempt. "You are no queen yet, Adaora," an old woman, Mama Yugo, warned softly, her tired eyes filled with wisdom. "Pride comes before the fall, child. The gods are watching." Adaora scoffed. "The gods? What can they do? I am the daughter of a king. I answer to no one." The villagers murmured among themselves. Adaora had always been like this, even as a child. Now, on the verge of becoming queen, her arrogance had grown unbearable. She disrespected the elders, ignored the cries of the poor, and laughed at anyone who tried to challenge her. But that evening, something strange happened. As the sun set behind the hills, Adaora ventured alone into the sacred forest, a place no one dared to go after dark. There were stories of spirits, old gods, and curses that lingered there. But Adaora was fearless. "I'll prove to them that I am untouchable," she whispered to herself, her footsteps crunching on the forest floor. The air became colder the deeper she walked, and soon, the only sound she could hear was the beating of her own heart. She paused by a large, ancient tree, its bark covered in strange carvings. "Is this it?" Adaora laughed. "Is this where the spirits hide?" Suddenly, a shadow moved behind her. She turned sharply, her eyes wide. A voice, deep and hollow, echoed from the darkness. "You mock what you do not understand." Adaora froze. The voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. "Who are you?" she demanded, though her voice now trembled. The shadow moved closer, taking the shape of a tall figure. Its eyes glowed red in the darkness. "I am the guardian of this land. The one who sees the pride in your heart. I am the princess," Adaora shouted, though her confidence was slipping. "You cannot scare me." The figure chuckled, a low, menacing sound that sent shivers down her spine. "It is not fear you should worry about, child. It is the curse that follows." Before Adaora could respond, the figure raised a hand. The ground beneath her shook violently, and suddenly, roots from the ancient tree wrapped around her legs, pulling her down. "Let me go," she screamed, struggling to break free. The figure's voice was cold. "You will learn humility, princess, but it will come at a price." As the roots tightened, Adaora felt something strange. Her skin began to itch, then burn. She looked down in horror as her golden complexion turned pale, almost gray. Her hair, once beautifully woven, fell apart, the beads scattering on the ground. The lion on her fabric seemed to come alive, its embroidered eyes glowing, watching her with malice. "What's happening to me?" she cried, her voice filled with terror. The figure's eyes gleamed in the darkness. "You have mocked the gods for too long. Now, you will walk the earth as a shadow of your former self until you learn what it means to be truly royal." With that, the figure disappeared, leaving Adaora alone in the dark forest, her body transformed. Her once beautiful face was now twisted, her hair wild, and her skin ashen. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. For days, she wandered the forest, lost and afraid. She could not return to the village, no one would recognize her now. She had become a monster, cursed by her own pride. One night, weak and broken, she stumbled upon a small clearing where Mama Yugo sat by a fire, her old eyes glowing in the firelight. "Help me," Adaora whispered, her voice barely audible. Mama Yugo looked up, her face expressionless. "The gods have spoken, child. Only you can break this curse, but it will not be easy." "I'll do anything," Adaora cried, tears streaming down her face. "I just want to be me again." Mama Yugo stood, her cane tapping lightly on the ground. "Humility is the key, Adaora. Go back to the village and serve those you once looked down upon. Only then will the gods see your heart has changed." With no other choice, Adaora returned to Abodo. But she no longer walked as the proud princess. Instead, she served in silence, her eyes downcast, helping the elderly, feeding the hungry, and mending the clothes of the poor. The villagers whispered about the strange woman who had appeared among them, but none recognized her as their once arrogant princess. Years passed, and Adaora worked tirelessly, her once beautiful features slowly returning as she proved her worth. The day she was finally freed from the curse, a rainbow appeared over the village, and the people knew that the gods had forgiven her. But Adaora never forgot the lesson. From that day forward, she ruled not with pride, but with wisdom and kindness, knowing that true royalty came from the heart. And in the darkest corner of the forest, the guardian watched, his red eyes glowing, satisfied that justice had been done.